Good morning, good afternoon. Wanted to allow you to join us on our morning walk. We're here on the outskirts of Nakuru, Kenya. We're leaving our suburb place outside of Nakuru. This is our local housing apartment. So we take walks regularly through this area, and I thought I would invite you all along with us. I hope that you can appreciate the peaceful tranquility of this area, surrounded by lush green spaces. Here you see a maize field. In America, we refer to it as corn, and you see our apartment building being built near the finishing stages there. And so we're going to take a walk through our neighborhood here, which I greatly appreciate. It was on one of these walks that we actually found the fundi, which they call carpenters or craftsmen here in Kenya, that will build our gate for our compound or our mission base. There you see a little fruit stand there where they serve the workers. They cook food, Kenyan snacks, and serve coffee, tea to the workers. That's what you saw. And on my left hand, you see a big wall there. That's an abandoned school for boys. As I explained in other videos, most of the houses, compounds, and apartments are surrounded by what they call a perimeter wall. And that brick or concrete wall you see on my left is a wall to that abandoned compound that was once a boys' school. And here on my left, you see another fruit stand. Well, sometimes we buy fresh fruits from this particular lady: watermelon, oranges, tomatoes, managu, which are greens, things like that. So we have all this in this little small rural area. As I mentioned previously, this is my preference. Compared to the big city life, that's not for me. Many people want the hustle and bustle of the city life. My preference is the small town and rural life. And so I want you to get a glimpse of what it's like living on the suburbs of Nakuru. And you've probably seen some other videos of our village in Salai, which is much more rural than this is, but this is just on the outskirts of Nakuru. This is the road that goes to our local housing, our 2-bedroom, 3-bath apartment. And now you see the main road. We see the trucks and traffic in the foreground ahead of me. That's the main road from Nairobi to Nakuru. It is called the Nairobi-Nakuru Highway. And so as we get to the end of our access road, most of the roads off the main roads are Moran roads, gravel roads. Like this is a gravel road, what we call in America gravel. And there you see what's called a boda. There's a boda or a motorcycle taxi stand right at the edge on my left-hand side. And on the right, you saw another little fruit stand. So a lot of people who live back behind us where we stay, they catch the matatus, which are those vans, small passenger vans that go from town to town. They stop right at the top of this hill and people catch the bus to town. And when they get out here, some people catch the boda drivers to their houses. So this is how the economy works here, forest transportation in Kenya, but it's very convenient. It gets people where they need to go relatively cheap or inexpensive, especially by Western standards. I'm yet to experience riding a boda, the motorcycle taxi, because my wife, she hasn't allowed me to as of yet, but maybe I'll take a film of both of us riding the boda together and share with you. In the meantime, you just have to enjoy our little walks together. So now we're walking through adjacent to the main highway. And to my left is that gate for that abandoned school that I mentioned. From what I understand, it closed down several years ago. There are lots of private schools here in Kenya. Some are day schools, which I mean the children go to school during the day like it's common back in America. Some are boarding schools where they stay on the grounds. They have some that are mixed, which includes boys and girls, or comprehensive, I think they call it. And some are just for boys or some are just for girls. So there's 2 schools here that are run by the same person. At one time, this was the boys' location, and they have a girls' location closer into town. So again, you see we're walking adjacent to the main highway, and you'll see a few shops here near the highway as well. And shortly we'll be coming up where our fundi is constructing the gate, the metal gate for our mission base, which we hope to show you next week some videos and photos of that being installed as we begin the development stage for Paradise Salai mission base in Salai, Kenya. We're so thankful for all of you who have partnered with us on that project, and we look forward to receiving those of you who will be visiting Kenya in the next coming weeks and months, and hopefully you'll be staying with us on the grounds within the next few months. So again, this shows you a little bit of the surrounding areas around Nakuru. We're on the eastern side of Nakuru, between Nakuru and Nairobi. This area is actually called Baruch. Yeah, it's actually called Baruch. And you'll see some locals here chit-chatting, very peaceful, gentle people when things are calm. But just as is the case with many people around the world, when chaos erupts, it erupts. But it's generally the younger generation that acts out with thefts and property damage and things. Most of the older generations, I think they're more accustomed to the way things are. But the youth seem to want to be very expressive, which is certainly their right to do so in a peaceful and non-destructive way. So we're coming up on a little villa area called Mara Villas. From what I understand, this is a place that's on Airbnb. It's a big compound, can receive about 6 people, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, I believe. So you can look that up, Mara Villas. I'll see if I can put the name on the screen when I edit this video. So we're going to be coming up here where our fundi is, and I'll show you a few pictures of the gate while it's under construction. And you enjoy that. We actually just found this fundi here. You see pictures of the gate being constructed as we stopped by today. This is the shave. This is some of the designs and ornaments that will go on the gate. It's a 12-foot gate, about 8.5 foot high in the middle, 7 feet or so on the sides. This will be the entrance gate to our property in Mission Base in Salai. So now here we go. Let's continue our walk. We're always trying to discover new places in the neighborhood. So we took a new turn today to go down this side road just to see what's here. But this certainly gives you a good glimpse on the greenery and the lushness. And there you see the beautiful rolling hills around this area. Very peaceful environment, very green, fresh air. These are the residential areas. And you also see some commerce, small mom and pop shops, we call them back in America. People sell snacks, bread items, eggs, milk. You also see many places that sell Kenyan snacks, chapati, mandazi, samosas, and things as such. Coffee, tea is big here because of the British influence, I'm sure. But there you see, we've taken another stroll through another area of our neighborhood. It was a great morning walk. We believe in staying as fit and healthy as possible. This is particularly important for those who are aging. You want to age gracefully, which means that you want to stay as active as possible, physically active, mentally active, socially active, as well as spiritually active, to maintain soundness and wholeness, mind, body, and soul. So we get a lot of inquiries from those who are looking for retirement options here in Kenya. Some want to stay in the city of Nairobi or some of the surrounding areas. There may be walking areas there. I think we did a video previously when we were in Kilelesha, in Kilimani area. There are good sidewalks in that area, so we were able to take a stroll through this area. But this is the small town life, suburb of the small town life outside of Nakuru. You see the hedges. That's called a live fence here in Kenya, where they may have a mesh or a chain link fence in the front, but then they allow the plants to grow to cover the fence, and they refer to this as a live fence. And we hope to do similar in our compound in Salai. It adds more of a natural tone. We like to preserve as much nature as possible. Generally, there are big concrete walls around some buildings. I think you may see some in this video upcoming shortly, but we weighed looking at both options, whether we wanted the precast fence or the chain link barbed wire with the live fence. You see right in front of me, that's a example of the stone fences that goes around a lot of the properties here. I think in this instance, the property that we're coming up on, look at that house there in the background with the hills. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful setting. I believe this particular property that we may be coming up on. Now you see the entrance gates to inside the compounds. That's what the gate that you saw previously. We'll have that gate at our entrance into our compound with pillars and 12-foot wall. And we'll be surrounded by chain link barbed wire fence with a live fence growing into it that you see pretty much on my left. That's the example of what a live fence looked like in its beginning stages. So it may take a little while for us to get there, but that is the plan. That is the idea as we go forward. So again, I hope that you can again appreciate the setting and surrounding for those of you who are looking for a more rural or small town setting. Again, this is just outside of Nakuru, which is about 2.5 hours away from Nairobi. I showed you previously the Nairobi-Nakuru highway that goes directly to Nairobi. And this is an example of a compound inside with some buildings. And here's some of the surrounding areas. And again, you see the hills rolling around this area. And in front of me, you see another example of what they call here a live fence. That means it has live plants growing to provide the concealment. And that's handy if you don't want people to know what you have. The best way to prevent that is to conceal it from their eyes. And so I find that very attractive here in Kenya. And even the compound walls, it definitely gives you a sense of more security. Whereas in America, somebody can just walk up to your front door and knock on your front door or just kick your front door in. And I think I talked about the fact that most of the doors are made of metal here. That's another example of a gate entrance. So you saw our gate being manufactured. So it'll be looking something like that once we get it installed with our fundi, our masons, building our pillars and wall. Our gate will fit like the one you just saw in between there. So again, I'm just having you join us on this walk and hopefully giving you a little bit of example or insight of what community living more local, particularly in small towns, is like. This is actually a church compound. I think they have kitchen and toilets there. They have water tanks where they store their water to supply for the property. Some properties have what they call a borehole, which we refer to as a well back home, that supplies their water. A lot of people here harvest rainwater as well. And some people have water delivery services where they truck drinking potable water to your location. So we may have a combination of all the above where we are. Some people have solar power in addition to the Kenya power. Sometimes the power can go out from time to time here. So a lot of people have backups. They have solar power. Some people have generators to supply power when in the event that those happen. I think it's a great idea to have a sustainable, renewable source of energy. So we certainly hope to have a hybrid of solar, electric, as well as perhaps a generator. But we're going to rely more on the solar option, I think. And now we're at the end of this road. That was the school behind this concrete wall, which they call a compound here. This is another school, and some students are leaving for today. All right, so now we're coming back to the apartment from our little walk. We're back where we almost began this video. Wife's there waiting on me to catch up with her. And now we're on the access road coming back to our local house here outside of Nakuru. You see a field full of maize to my left again. And I think I may be able to show you another glimpse of the apartment that's being built. From what I understand, this will be all 1-bedroom ensuite apartments. Not sure on the pricing yet, but the apartment we're living in, we have a 2-bedroom, 3-bath for 15,000 shillings, which is about 115 USD. So I would think that these apartments will be somewhere in that. The one bedrooms in our complex were renting for 10,000 shillings, which is about 77 US dollars. So I would think that somewhere in that range between $77 and $115 should be the price of these new apartments. I'll post the information once we find out about it. But that was a very nice, maybe about 30-minute walk. I probably condensed the video a little bit because we stopped and talked with our fundi for the gate. We stopped at a few places to look at some things. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying this lifestyle in Kenya. And for those of you from rural America, in South Carolina, we were raised in a rural area just north of Columbia, South Carolina. So we were used to dirt roads or gravel roads in that area. So it's almost like when you have a good memory of life in your youth in an area, somehow that clings to you. And in my case, it's no exception. There you see in the foreground, this is our apartment complex, where for our local houses, like I said, we like to get the best of all the worlds here that Kenya has to offer. We have a city dwelling in Nairobi. This is our small town dwelling outside of Nakuru, and we'll have the village or rural life in Salai. So stay tuned. I hope that you enjoyed this walk and talk with us. If you're visiting Kenya and you want to visit some of the areas outside of Nairobi, you want to visit Nakuru, Salai, Lake Salai, we offer tour packages from this area. There's a national park here called Lake Nakuru National Park that you can visit. There's another attraction called Menengai Crater that's in this area, as well as Lake Salai. And then our tour package also takes you up to Thompson Falls, which is about an hour and a half away. So contact us if you're interested in any of that. There you see the apartment complex and another example of the neighboring property with a fence and a gate. But yeah, so we're approaching the entrance gate for this compound, as you see again, surrounded by the concrete walls and the gate. So here we are. Now we're inside the compound. You see parking for the cars. There's my wonderful wife there leading me back to the apartment. So again, this is what life is like in small town Kenya outside of Nakuru. Ciao. Speak with you later.